Hey, let's take a look at the Smart Connect app version 1.2. So if you just downloaded Smart Connect for the first time, you'll see this screen in the beginning where it's asking for your email and connection key. If you're here for the Obsidian integration, then what you're going to want to do is, at the moment, you can actually just leave this screen, but I'll get into some more details about some features you'll want to configure in the near future to improve that Obsidian integration such that Smart Connect increases the speed of the embedding process and even makes Obsidian run smoother when you're running smart connections and the companion plugins that go with smart connections. So if you turn off those security features, you'll be able to just see what everybody that logs in sees. There's this notes section here, which I'll get into in a minute, but first let's go turn those security features back on and log in. You'll notice a restart notification popping up. So right now it takes a restart in order to get a lot of the settings to update. Hopefully this will be something that gets improved in the future, but for now, I'm just, using a restart of the application to get moving forward faster. So now you can see we are connected to the Smart Connections server. And, in order to do that, I had to put in my email and my connection key, which if you are a Smart Connections Obsidian plugin supporter, you already have a connection key. It's your supporter license key. And you can also get a connection key either monthly for the service by clicking this link. I won't go into all of the details on that right now, but just know that the connection key is available. You can get one for $20 a month or pay yearly and get access to the private chat with the Obsidian supporters. So back to the beginning. We just logged in and connected for the first time, and we'll see we have vault path. That's referring to your Obsidian vault. That setting right here is highlighted in yellow, and there's a little folder icon that also indicates that this setting has not yet been set. And this is what is going to, specify to the software what folder should be available for the AI to interact with. So I just quick set my Obsidian folder, and so now you can see that yellow box disappeared under notes. The folder went from yellow to just blue, and you can see, for the Transcribe GPT, it is still yellow because we haven't set a folder for where we want our transcribed notes to go. Before we move on, let's take a look at what else is in the Notes GPT. So at the top, you'll see this little bot icon. And if you see that, that means there's a GPT associated with I call those action groups. So they're just groups of these smart actions you can see. So the Smart Connect Notes GPT is here. And let's head right back over here. Let's add the vault name, Obsidian 1. There's a couple other features. So the prefix meta, that essentially just adds a little indicator about the date that any content that's added to your vault, it adds a little timestamp into the note so you can easily detect if the AI has added or changed something in your vault. And this change UI setting is actually still a work in progress, but if you're using Obsidian and the Smart Connections plugin, you might have seen the change UI, which is basically an accept or reject screen that allows you to better manage the inputs by AI into your vault. So scrolling down a little bit, we have under this notes section still, you'll see we have smart actions, and the first one is the alignment action. That you can specify custom instructions similar to the custom instructions in ChatGPT, and you can do that by setting a file already. So I can just set that, or you could also type in some instructions in this text box. The rest of the actions down here do not currently have settings, but you can see you can append content to a note, you can create a note, there's an action for inserting into a note, listing folders, listing files in a folder, listing recent notes. This lookup action is what uses the embeddings in order to perform a semantic search. There is a read action, which simply lets you read a note that, if you specify the name of the note, and then a replace action, which is like find and replace, but more for larger pieces of text. So maybe replacing one paragraph with another paragraph. This is the version 1 of the Notes GPT. You might notice a little further down, I have a Notes version 2 coming soon. The version 2 is going to have a bunch of updates I've been wanting to make to the Notes GPT, but since a bunch of people are using the Notes GPT currently, I didn't want to update that directly, so there will be a version 2 where I'll be focusing my efforts on the new features. So let's just take a quick look. If we're over in the GPT, we can type in something like list recent notes, and it's talking to the Smart Connections app, and that is my weekly note. We have the Smart Connect note, Smart Actions. You can imagine these are all, pretty much related to Smart Connect. And then if I were to click on one of these links, this is why I had to add the name of the Obsidian Vault, because it's used to generate the link that goes to this note here. But basically, the link from ChatGPT should just open up a note in your Obsidian Vault. Okay, so back to Smart Connect. We have the Transcribe GPT. This is something that is somewhat new because it wasn't ever listed in Smart Connect prior to now, but now not only is it listed in there, but you can also set this inbox path. So I'll just quick set it. I go to my Obsidian Vault and I have an inbox folder right there. And then by setting that inbox folder, did it set? Oh, okay, I see. So there's a bit of a preview to what's to come. Basically, we have a new integration between Smart Connect and the Obsidian plugin. So while currently Smart Connect is used as an embedding server, the new version will actually manage everything, including scanning the files, and the result of that should be significantly improving performance of Obsidian while you're running Smart Connections and Smart Connect. Okay, so it looks like that folder was set. So then what I like to do is take a picture using the Chat GPT app of a note that I've handwritten, and the Transcribe GPT will add the note to this inbox folder. That is pretty much the gist of that. So, moving on, there's this Code GPT, which will be coming soon. And, it has a nice little loop where basically it can update a file and then run the tests. Currently, there's just an npm run test. If you're familiar with JavaScript and Node.js development, you will probably recognize that, but this testing action will be replaced with a more generic testing action. So regardless of the programming language you're using, you'll be able to run those tests and have ChatGPT continuously update the code until those tests pass. What's coming in the Notes version 2 GPT? If you're following me on Twitter, you might have seen the Smart Connect-Obsidian plugin. So this is the version that has made it into Smart Connect. For a little bit of a background, all of the Obsidian plugins and even Smart Connect, they use components from the JS Brains open source project, which I've created basically to extract all of the useful components out of the Smart Connections Obsidian plugin and make them open source and available to create more tools so that more individuals can build their own smart environments, and hopefully other developers can help, create more of these tools for others to use. But for how the templates action works, you would browse here, and let's go to Obsidian, and we can just get my Smart Templates folder. And when you add this folder, what's going to happen after it restarts is there should be more. Let's see. Okay. Down here, we can see templates, new template for commands, smart project template, target audience template. These are templates from my templates folder that can now be used as actions in the ChatGPT. So just to get a better understanding of how that works, let's go take a look at my smart project template here. So we have this first, why? Like, why is this? This is the template for a project note. So like in a project note, I like to explain why, at the top, just to keep me focused. And this in the curly braces is a variable that maps to the settings, the Smart Template settings. So you can see this project why, list 3 to 5 items about why the project is important. So if I were to run this template on a note that already had some content in it, it would make that inference and specify why the project is important there. Now these next few prompts in curly braces, these are the exact prompts that will be run by GPT in order to generate the content. And these prompts are used in this section here, the Smart Project Template action, so that you can tell ChatGPT to create a new note using the Smart Project Template, and it will, for each of these prompts here in the template, generate content specific or that follows the instructions of that prompt. Okay, so that is just one action. That is this templates action that's coming soon to the Notes version 2 GPT. And that one action just expands into a whole bunch of more custom actions that you can create without having to write any code. And there's more to come. Templates, they're like one moment in time. And I have a very similar concept that I'm implementing called workflows, which are very similar to the templates in how easy they can be to set up, except for they are a progression which enables more capabilities by ChatGPT if it's going through that template one step at a time and considering what happened prior for each next step. So that will be coming soon. But let's take a look at this custom GPT default. So default refers to this custom profile here. You can create new custom profiles. Basically what that will do is we can set this smart environment here. So we can just set it to my Obsidian, like in the Notes GPT, if we want to continue working within our Obsidian vault via Chat GPT. And then, so now when I go to the custom GPT, the folder is no longer yellow, and we have these smart actions available. And in order to create the custom GPT, we're going to take this Open API URL, and we can see what the content of that looks like by going to a browser and pasting that URL into the browser. So you can see we have all of these different actions. This is the code that is going to be read by ChatGPT in order to create the actions for the GPT. We can quick do something like that. So if you are in ChatGPT, you can go to create a new GPT, and then let's see if we can hide this over here. Okay, so let's just see test custom GPT. Down at the bottom here, you have a create new action button, and that's where you're going to place that Open API URL right up here. So we're adding actions, import from URL, paste that, import, and now we have the same code that was visible in the browser inside this box. But it's telling us that we can only have a maximum of 30 operations. That's when we can go back to the Smart Connect app, and in the Smart Connect app, these actions are configurable using this all routes section. So we can turn off, let's just start turning off some actions so that we can get within the limit here. By default, it's the shortest. This is what they call an endpoint or a path. The shortest endpoint or path is what will be used inside the Open API endpoint. So we just disabled a bunch of them. Let's see if we got below the limit. Import. Maybe we have to get rid of a few more. Okay, let's see. Whoops. So in custom GPT, all routes. Well, it looks like I might need to fix something there. So let's just do it this way. Another way you can remove some routes is simply by deleting some of this content here. So we'll delete from create down to keyword search. And then now when we scroll down, you can see the available actions here. So many of these actions you're going to recognize. So there's the Smart Project Template action, and it's the second to last action. So we can just scroll down to the bottom here and see what that looks like. It should look familiar since we were just checking out the actual template. So, okay, so here we go. The Smart Project Template. We have 3 to 5 list items about what the done state of the project looks like, 3 to 5 list items about what doing the project looks like. And this is what instructs ChatGPT on how to use that template. So I'll record another video about creating these custom GPTs, but I just wanted to show you in the new Smart Connect UI, to get your Open API, you're going to open this custom GPT section, scroll down until you find this Open API section. This should be familiar if you've used a previous version of the plugin. There's this API key value, and that is where ChatGPT, when you're adding these actions and you have this authentication section, you're going to go to API key, place that API key here, and make sure you select the bearer auth type. So back to the custom GPT settings in Smart Connect, we also have a Smart Actions setting, which is similar to the above Smart Actions, but these Smart Actions under this Notes group, those are the actions that are available to this specific GPT. The Transcribe GPT has two actions available, the append action and the create action. The Code GPT, we saw that those actions are npm run test and the replace all action. And the Notes version 2 currently only has this templates action. But when you get to the custom GPT section, there are a few more categories of actions. We have core actions. This FS, that stands for file system. These are actually some open source actions, which if you see this little icon here, it's a little Git branch icon. If you're a developer, you're familiar with GitHub. It takes you over to GitHub where it actually has all of the open source code for those actions. So you can see, the create file code is here. It's rather simple. I'm hoping developers are going to see this code and be inspired to create their own actions because, creating a file, you can see it's just a few lines of code, including error handling. I will record more about how to create actions in the future, but, there are these core actions available, and, basically these are controls for what is going to be available to your custom GPT. I think for beginners, these GPTs up at the top where it's easy to log in, you just use your same credentials that you used at the beginning of this video to connect with Smart Connect. Those same credentials enable you to quickly log into these GPTs. And I plan on making more of those GPTs, and I think they will be very useful. But the more advanced user is going to very specific objectives, and they can achieve those objectives by creating custom GPTs with this interface down here. Right now, the configuration is pretty generic, so you may not need to create more profiles, but if you create a new profile, you'll be able to switch between what's available. So, this is profile 5, and then in case you wanted to have completely different connection key, you can do that. The login is connected to those profiles there, so that's why I just had to re-enter my credentials. But the part that might be most interesting to you is that you can set different folders for each of those profiles. So in this case, maybe I want to use the JSBrains code repository with my custom GPTs. So instead of adding my Obsidian vault, I added, you can see documents JSBrains here. And if I switch back over to the default profile and we go into that custom GPT section, you can see we're back with my Obsidian vault. So we have smart actions you can toggle on and off. If you were to say, for some reason, not want the create action in your Notes GPT, you can toggle that off. And what happens is when you are in the GPT, if the GPT tries to call that create action, it will respond saying that you disabled that feature. And that's just going to give you extra control over your smart environment. to make sure that the AI isn't going out of the bounds that you set for it. Okay, let's see if we have any more features. So right below the Open API and the API key settings, you'll see Add Action for adding custom actions. I mentioned you can write your own actions, and if you wanted to add those actions, you basically just find the file. So I have some custom actions I've been working on. So let's do this at GitHub inbox action. And now you see this file path here. And if we open up the custom GPT settings under Smart Actions, we now have this custom actions section. And if we open that up, we can see the get GitHub inbox action, and it has some settings. This is what enables the code to access GitHub via the API. It requires a personal access token. That is something you get from GitHub. The repository name and repository owner, that is essentially just mapping to the URL. Okay, so you could add custom actions. A lot of what's happened recently, the changes that have been made to Smart Connect, are to enable more custom actions. So now that I'm wrapping up those developments, I'll actually be working on building custom actions myself. And I imagine that those custom actions will be the first batch of what I'm calling community actions. This is something that's been heavily inspired by community plugins, Obsidian. So I imagine that this get GitHub inbox, basically that just gets the recent notifications from GitHub. That may be useful to another developer that's managing open source projects. So instead of having to download this file and add the action through this custom action section, which is mainly for developing your own actions, for another developer to just easily access this custom action, there will be a community actions index, very similar to the Obsidian community plugins index. You'll be able to click find actions and easily install those custom actions from the community actions index. Okay, so moving on to the settings section. These are settings that are specific to this custom GPT profile. So you will see, down here, this official service, the login, that is specific to the profile. This GPT URL, if I were to take this, let's restart this chat here. Okay, so, and then we put that GPT URL into this box here. This is mostly a convenience feature. So now this custom GPT section has that little bot icon, just like the notes and transcribe section. And if you click that, it takes you to the GPT that you configured for that custom GPT profile. You can configure a different GPT URL for the other profiles, and then you can quickly switch between the profiles so that the Smart environment folder that you selected is quickly changed, and then also the link to the GPT you want to use is changed. Okay, so that's the first setting. Then you have this security setting. We'll skip that. I'll come back to that in just a second. There are two global settings. So these settings are not profile specific, while basically all of these other settings will be saved to this default profile, or if I switched over to the profile 5, it would be, all those settings would be saved to that profile 5. All except for these global settings. Currently there are two global settings. One is to prevent your computer from sleeping, and the reason you might want to do that is that if you want to use these GPTs on your mobile device, you can use all of the Smart Connect GPTs on your mobile device as long as the Smart Connect software is running on your computer. So if you're out and about for the day, you'll want to have this prevent sleep setting on so that your computer doesn't turn off, and this way you can use the Smart Connect GPTs on your mobile device when you are away from your computer. The auto launch setting basically just starts Smart Connect when your computer starts. So if you don't want Smart Connect running as soon as your computer starts, you can turn that off. If you don't want to prevent sleep, if you're only using the Smart Connect GPTs while you're on the computer, you can toggle off the prevent sleep feature. Okay, so back to this security feature. This was also toggled off in the very beginning if you want to skip logging in and still have access to all of these settings and the ability to run Smart Connect using your own connection server. In order to use your own connection server, you have to turn off some default security measures that I have implemented that protect the connection between your local computer and ChatGPT when you're using the Smart Connect official service. But because the mission of this software is to empower individuals, I want to make it as accessible as possible. So if for whatever reason you do not want to, or you cannot use the official service for Smart Connect, you can disable this security. And what that does is that allows any other application running on your computer to access smart actions. That is necessary if you want to set up your own connection server. So now that the security is turned off, you can set the host name, and it's currently localhost, which is just your local computer. You can set the port that the server is running on, and these configuration or these two values will be used for configuring a connection server that you are either using from another third party, or you're hosting on your own cloud server. However you want to do it, you'll have to specify this port number so that that connection server knows where to find these actions. And this host name, I'll be recording more videos in the future of how to set up your own connection, but basically this right here can be used to change the Open API information. So right now it has this localhost at the port number Open API. We should be able to view the same. Yep. So this, you can see the Open API is now available at that path. However, if you try to port that here, it's not going to work. So that's where you have to set up your own connection server so that that does work, and you can change this value here so that the server, you can see here it says localhost inside the Open API now. You're going to want to change that, and that is possible with this setting here. Okay, so wrapping up, those are all of the settings that are available in Smart Connect version 1.2. I'm sure things will be changing and there will be more added. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, but there is definitely a lot in terms of, each individual action could probably have its own settings. For example, the create actions, it may be desirable to set a specific folder similar to the transcribe GPT where any notes that are created always go to the same folder. So, you can expect more actions to have specific settings. These GPTs, there will be more groups of actions that are specific to a GPT, like this notes group and the transcribe group and the code group. More groups with specific official Smart Connect GPTs. That will be coming soon to the settings, but then to wrap it up, down here at the bottom, we have these different stats. We can try that out. Let's see. So turning security back on, going over to here, list recent notes. So this should, yep, there we go. So input tokens. In order to list these recent notes over here, we input 122 tokens. The output tokens for listing the recent notes was over 3,000 tokens. And in total, that is the total token usage. Now, right now, this Smart Connect only really works with ChatGPT, and you do not pay per token. But in the future, there will be a Smart Chat UI that's very similar to what's available in Obsidian. The Obsidian Smart Chat uses an API, whether it's OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. You can configure your own API. And eventually you will be able to do the same with Smart Connect, so you can see how many tokens you're using right now with ChatGPT, but also, that will be useful if you are using an API account to access the chat. Down here at the bottom, an access log, that is going to show you the requests that are coming in. These are, that's accessing an access log that I've been using for a long time, so I did not clear that. But the console log button is going to be very interesting, because anytime there's an issue, this is what I need screenshots of. So whether you're posting an issue on the GitHub or sending me the issue in the private chat, I will need you to take a screenshot of this console log, send it to me. If there's an issue, there should be errors in here, which will pop up in red. And those screenshots will help me improve the software and help you fix whatever problem you're encountering. Okay, so that's it. That's the Smart Connect version 1.2. I hope that helps you get started and helps you understand the changes and the direction of Smart Connect. Thanks for watching.